Dober večer, lepo pozdravljeni v Muzeju za arhitekturo in oblikovanje na otvoritvi razstave Mesto, plava. Razstava potuje. Razstava je projekt Švicarskega arhitekturnega muzeja iz Basla in razstava je del platforme Future Architecture, katere zelo prizadeven član je tudi Švicarski muzej za arhitekturo in oblikovanje. Veseli me, da danes lahko tu pozdravim tudi gospoda Andreasa Rubyja, direktorja muzeja za arhitekturo v Baslu, in ostale naše goste, gospoda Sašo Arsenoviča, župana mestne občine Maribor, gospod doktor Bonijo Miljavec, predstojnico Nacionalnega inštituta za javno zdravje iz Novega mesta, gospoda Roberta Rožaca, državnega sekretarja na Ministrstvu za okolje in prostor in gospoda Janeza Koželja, podžupana mestne občine Ljubljana. Pa bi za začetek dal besedo Andreasu Rubyju, da nam na kratko opiše razstavo, da nam pove, zakaj so se odločili narediti tako razstavo in o čem ta razstava govori.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for Mao for hosting this wonderful show. And they have done it really beautifully. It looks almost better than when we did it in Basel 2 years ago. It's an exhibition that was the first exhibition that I wanted to do when I came to the Swiss Architecture Museum in 2015. I became director of this museum and came into the city and walked over a bridge, and it was on a hot summer day, and I saw something I couldn't believe. There were literally thousands of people by the river, on the shore, and they threw their bodies in the river. And this is a most amazing sight for me because I grew up in Dresden, in East Germany, along a river, River Elbe, which was a terrible place to be. I was frightful of this river. I thought, if I fall into this thing, it is the end of my life. It was brown, opaque, and disgusting. And the city is nice, but the river was kind of tough. So I thought, rivers must be places to stay away from. And here I am, a couple of decades later, in Basel, and see that really so many people swim in this river, which was wide and powerful, and a little bit intimidating, and they didn't seem to be fearful. They didn't seem to think this was a bad environment. And I was very impressed and quickly asked my first friends that I was making in the city to show me this, because I was very excited. I thought, okay, if these people can do it, maybe I can do so too. And I will never forget this moment to actually go into the river and basically give my body over to the river. It's an incredible experience of freedom somehow, because you realize you have nothing to hold on anymore. The only thing you can hold on is the river, the current, and you have to trust that it will do you good. And it did me good. And the first thing that I thought was, I need to know how the water is. I stuck my head under the water, and I was completely surprised because it was all clear and I could see the ground of the river. And this was the moment where I lost any fear of river swimming. And ever since, I've been doing this whenever the weather allows it, which in Basel is between, let's say, June and September. Practically, I go there every day. And most people in Basel do so too. And in Switzerland, it's a common thing. And I realized the Swiss have really no clue how lucky they are. They don't know what kind of luxury this is. Maybe we should do an exhibition at the Architecture Museum, even though this doesn't seem so architectural, but it's a culture of public space. And for me, architecture is a nice pretext to create the city and public space. So it is an architectural issue. So we did this exhibition for once for the Swiss people, so that they really understand that's quite lucky that we can do this. And we wanted to do as well this show for everyone else in the world who, like me, doesn't understand why they can do it and not anybody else? So what's the trick behind? What's the magic? What's the kind of, the tool that the Swiss invented to do this? And how can everybody else also do this? And basically, this exhibition was a research to find the conditions that enable cities to make their rivers swimmable. And basically, we realized there are two primal conditions. One is the water must be clean enough that it's not a health risk. And in Switzerland, that is the case. It was not always the case. They needed to clean their rivers after the transformation from the secondary to tertiary sector in the cities. So when the heavy industry moved out, the rivers became cleaner automatically, and it was easier to clean it so much that you can actually swim in it. So that's the first thing. And the other condition is a legal question. Who takes responsibility for the safety of the swimmers? And the Swiss invented something really cool. I call it the democratization of risk. They take the risk for themselves. They do it on their own risk. I like a lot this notion that you can personalize risk, that the state is not paternalizing you and saying, I'm going to make sure that you are safe. Because if the state has this claim, like for instance in France, with this very centralist notion of a very strong state, then the state would need to make precautions that make sure that you can never drown. That's practically impossible. In Basel, you swim along a distance of 3 kilometers. Imagine you put lifeguards along this axis. This is very expensive. So, therefore, the Swiss invented an association, actually the Swiss people invented an association in 1933. Shortly after the police president in Basel wanted to forbid public swimming, because there was a casualty toll of 400 people that were killed at that time in public water bodies in Switzerland, at a population of then 4 million people. So they wanted to close it down, said this is too dangerous, we have too many casualties, we can no longer do this. And then a couple of swimming enthusiasts said, no, we want the right, we want to retain the right to use the river. And if you think safety is the problem, we are going to take care of it. So these people founded an association which is called Schweizerische Lebensrettungsgesellschaft, the Swiss Life Saving Society. It's an NGO. It's made up of volunteers who are basically lifeguards, all of them, and who take it upon them to inform the population, to train them, and to whom wants to learn it, and to make all kinds of effort that are necessary so that the population understands the risk and can take the risk in an informed way and go into the river knowing what they're doing. This society today has 12,000 members. Without this society, we couldn't do this in Switzerland. And I thought, okay, that's an interesting way. So maybe other countries find other ways, but the Swiss did it like this. So let's show this, and that's why we made a film, which you can see in this space on the ground floor, where we found a film director who built a camera float, equipped with 6 cameras, 3 above water, 3 below the water, and he swam this float, or he drifted with this float through 4 cities. Basel, Bern, Zurich, and Geneva, which we picked as exemplary cities where you can do it. You can do it in many more cities in Switzerland. And the film goes about 20 minutes. And when you see the film, you understand how each place developed their own culture and tradition, how you swim the river. Also, each river is different. They have different speeds, different current dynamics, different colors, beautiful colors. And people use it for different things. And when you see this film, basically, you want to do this yourself. And then this is what we hope for, that you go to your city administration and say, dear Mr. Mayor, we have a beautiful river in the city, Ljubljanica. It sits beautifully in the city. It has very nicely designed embankments. It is actually accessible in many places. All we need to do is make sure it's clean enough for us not to get sick when we use it, and how to make sure that we can prevent that people drown. It's a doable challenge, and we hope after this exhibition will serve as a utensil, as a tool for everybody who wants to do this, to make this dream a reality.
Prav to je bil eden od razlogov, zakaj smo želeli to razstavo pokazati tudi v Sloveniji. Imamo več lepih rek, ne samo Ljubljanico, tudi Krko v Novem mestu, tudi Dravo v Mariboru. In v zadnjih letih so slovenska mesta naredila zelo veliko projektov, da bi prostor reke veliko bolj približala meščanom in obiskovalcem. Veliko javnih prostorov na Breži se je izboljšalo, tako v Ljubljani, v Mariboru ima župan prav tako veliko načrtov ob reki Dravi. Kateri so ti projekti in ali bomo v bodoče plavali tudi v Ljubljanici in Dravi? Kaj je bilo do zdaj narejenega na tem področju in kaj je v bistvu tisto, kar danes še preprečuje možnosti? Pa bom dal besedo najprej županu.
Hvala lepa. Hvala za priložnost, lep pozdrav vsem. Torej, mesto Maribor se dejansko razvilo zaradi Drave in ob Dravi v 13. stoletju in je nekoč plavanje bilo tam seveda nekaj samo po sebi umevnega, je potem izginilo, malo zaradi navad, malo zaradi Mariborskega otoka, malo zaradi industrije. V največji meri pa potem, ko je Drava v tem urbanem delu Maribora postala v bistvu industrijski objekt med dvema elektrarnama, kar nam seveda zadaje neke nove druge možnosti in izzive. En ključnih izzivov tega mandata ekipe je, kako vzpostaviti celoten življenjski prostor Drava, ki ima več deležnikov. Eden je dravska kolesarska pot, ki povezuje pravzaprav Italijo z Hrvaško, to razvijamo. Drugo je ureditev urbanega dela med sodnim in vodnim stolpom v srednjeveškem delu mesta, ki ga razvijamo z gospo Marušo Zorec. Mi je žal, da danes ni tukaj, bi znala kaj lepega povedati. Gospod Jurij Kobe razvija vojašniški trg, ki je v nekako vezni člen med sedaj že narejenim glavnim trgom in Koroško. Letošnjem letu, konc leta ali najkasneje spomladi, bo zgrajena brv, ki bo povezala levi in desni breg na mestu, kjer je nekoč stal stari most. In danes seveda sanjamo o tem, da bomo vzpostavili to dravsko promenado, ki bo povezala Mariborski otok tudi z desnim bregom. Govorimo o 13 kilometrih ene infrastrukture, ki pa želi biti samo verižica, na kateri bodo biseri vsebine različne, ki bodo kot življenjski prostor povezovale kopno z reko. In v reki sanjamo najprej seveda o plovnosti, ki je sedaj še nimamo, in seveda sanjamo o tem, da bomo vzpostavili na različne načine tudi plavanje. Nazadnje, ko v času festivala Lent smo imeli, mislim, da 26. tekmo osmercev, sicer ni bil Oxford, Cambridge, ampak je bilo vseeno napeto. In istočasno smo imeli skoke iz Dravskega mostu. Najbolj hrabri so skakali z 16 metrov in ob tej priložnosti smo se tudi peljali z raftom po reki in so si mnogi upali skočiti v reko in je naš podžupan, da bi dokazal, da je en pogoj izpolnjen, da je reka čista, iz reke zajel kozarec vode in voda je bila bistra, brez vonja in okusa. Tako da tisti prvi pogoj, ki ga je prej povedal gospod, je treba najprej Dravo očistiti, smo že naredili malo nehote, ker je industrija sama po sebi umrla, ampak mogoče ena naloga manj za nas sedaj, da vzpostavimo ta življenjski prostor boljši, kot je kadarkoli bil.
Gospod Koželj, v Ljubljani je tako rekoč vse pripravljeno, da skočimo tudi v Ljubljanico. Kaj je danes tisto, kar to še preprečuje?
Jaz se zmerom zgovarjam, država preprečuje. Kot tudi pri drugih razvojnih projektih v Ljubljani je vedno še nekdo, ki je nad nami, ne? In tisti nekako določa pravila igre. No. Sej, se smešno sliši, ampak v bistvu je res. Ne? Namreč država podeljuje status plavalnih voda, ne? Voda, ki so seveda primerne za plavanje. Mi seveda vršimo ves čas meritve, ves čas, tako da enkrat dosežemo to idealno stanje, bi lahko rekel, v vseh tistih parametrih, ki jih vi dobro bolj poznate. Ne? Ampak enkrat je reka, bi rekel, popolnoma plavalno čista, enkrat je ekološko čista. Nikoli ni pitno čista, ne? Za pit ni še, ampak enkrat je biološko čista, ne? In ta me najbolj veseli. Ne? Ona je pač biološko čista. Če ste pogledali v to reko, boste videli, da je res lepe barve, da je polna mladic, ne? Ribji zarod se razploduje. No? Vi veste, da se ulovijo res kapitalni somi in kapitalni sulci pod Tromostovjem, ne? Res kapitalni taki. Skratka, reka postaje privlačna tudi zato, ker pravzaprav smo začeli Ljubljano oživljati, to se tudi mogoče ne ve, ne? Ob reki. Ne? Mi smo želeli, od tam se potem širili te projekti oživljanja javnih prostorov. In začeli smo dobesedno na Ljubljanici in želeli seveda približati reko ljudem, približati ta element, ki je zelo privlačen, ne? To je ena ogromna masa, ki teče neslišno, ne? Človeka zmerom pritegne. Ne? In je to ključen projekt, pravzaprav. In je še zmerom projekt. Ne? Tako mi smo vso infrastrukturo v bistvu že naredili. Mi smo naredili vsa pristanišča, pristane, mi imamo te poti imamo ob vodi izpeljane, gostišča in bifeji so že pripravljeni, ležalne ploščadi so že položene, skratka vse je, samo čakamo na dovoljenje, da lahko uradno se kopamo v reke. Zdaj seveda se neuradno se kopamo, ne? Zdaj, župan se me ne upa še, jaz sem že se kopal, ne? Ker je res tisti mali delež širike okoli, ne, je tudi v Izoli, če se grem kopati, ne, v vodi. Zasigurno, samo to počne merijo. No. Ampak kakorkoli neka odpornost moraš imeti. In seveda se kopijo tudi mnogi drugi, ne, tudi pri nas skačejo z mostov, ne, a veste, tudi pravkar so plezalci recimo imeli en turnir, ne, balvanskega plezanja. In na koncu, ne, v cilju so morali žal skočiti v Ljubljanico, kako mnogi seveda se tudi veseljačijo na ta način, da plavajo v njej. Tako, ona je nekako plavalna reka, no, ni pa, kot rečeno, še čista. Zdaj, kje je problem? Problem je, da plačujemo davek dezurbanizacije mesta pred leti. Mi plačujemo davek te suburbanizacije, črne gradnje seveda, ne. Morate razumeti, da se ukvarjamo še vedno z legalizacijo v tem sanitarno-tehničnem smislu enih velikih naselij, kot je Rakova Jelša med drugim, ne? In tudi druga naselja, Galjevica in tako. Tako mi ves čas popravljamo kanalizacijo in seveda se tudi povezujemo z drugimi občinami, kot veste, z Brezovica, Lok-Dragomer recimo, kajti gorvodno občine nam podeželske še vedno osnažujejo Ljubljanico in seveda zato ne moremo doseči tistega idealnega stanja, ki bi bil stalen, kakor da bi dobili plavo zastavo recimo. No. Dej, nekdo me tudi vpraša, če pripravljamo projekt plovnosti, tudi to pripravljamo, ne vem, če bo sicer izboljšali stanje voda, zato ker čim bolj uporabljamo reko za plovbo, tem bolj ta plovba le učinkuje na kvaliteto voda za plavati. No, to je tudi težko plavati med turističnimi ladjicami, ne, in zdaj seveda mi res smo tik na tem, da že naredimo prostorski načrt, kako bomo uvedli to plovno, krožno plovbo, ne, kajti Ljubljana je v bistvu otok, ne, ki ga obdaja Ljubljanica in Gruberov prekop. In ta projekt je narejen, to je en od redkih projektov, ki je dobil vsa soglasja, bo ribičev, naravovarstvenikov, spomeniškov varstva in tako naprej, vodarjev, no, energetikov. No. Skratka, to smo tik na tem, recimo, da bomo v 2 letih tudi ta projekt izvedli, kar bo seveda še bolj približali vodo ljudem. Tik na gladini smo, no? Nismo pa še pod gladino, kot ste lepo povedali. Ne? Pod gladino še ne, pod gladino bolj gledamo, ampak vanjo ne segamo. Jaz bi pa sam tako povedal, kaj me pa najbolj veseli. Najbolj me veseli, ker to mogoče gospod navede, prihajajo k nam jadralna društva iz morja, iz morskih mest, iz Izole in Kopra in prirejajo regate, jadralne regate na Ljubljanice. No, to se mi zdi recimo en tak zelo zanimiv, kako bi rekel, pojav, no? Kako se morje tudi vrača v Ljubljano. No? Kaj to bi bilo na kratko.
Gospa Miljavec, ali tudi v Krki plavate?
Da, na Dolenjskem plavamo na več mestih na Krki, Bela krajina pa tudi štejem v Dolenjsko, ne, čeprav se nekako prebivalci pohvalijo specifičnosti, tam je pa ta dolga mejna reka Kolpa, ki je tudi čedalje bolj popularna in tam seveda imamo tudi veliko kopalnih območij, ne, da pravilno povem, ne, namreč tudi v naši zakonodaji nekako razlikujemo statuse kopalnih območij, naravnih kopališč. Osnovna razlika je predvsem v tem, da je na naravnih kopališčih določen upravljavec, ki med drugim skrbi tudi za varnost, o kateri je gospod razlagal, ne, kot seveda tveganju pri kopanju v površinskih rekah, ampak seveda tudi v bazenskih kopališčih je neko tveganje te vrste. Ne.
Nacionalni inštitut za javno zdravje v zadnjih mesecih poznamo predvsem po priporočilih, ki nam jih izdajate v zvezi z koronavirusom in se nam zdi, da je to vaša glavna dejavnost, ampak v resnici je pa ena vaših glavnih dejavnost spremljanje kakovosti kopalnih voda po Sloveniji. Kakšna je nasplošno ta kakovost in ali so plezalci, ki so padali v Ljubljanico in skakalci, ki so skakali s Starega mostu v Mariboru, kaj tvegali ali ne?
Seveda so tvegali. Zdaj, kar se tiče nasplošno kakovosti kopalne vode na površinskih rekah in morju, moram povedati, da cela Slovenija ni enako pokrita s tem nadzorom. Namreč že vrsto let poteka monitoring kakovosti kopalne vode na morju, na jezerih, Šobec, Bled, Bohinj in tudi na Krki in Kolpi, kjer so določena odzemna mesta, predvsem glede na kriterij, evropski kriterij, ki narekuje nekako, da se na nekem območju običajno kopa večje število ljudi. Potem smo nekako prepoznali te točke. Drugi del Slovenije pa pravzaprav ni pokrit, in mi kot NIJZ pravzaprav nimamo podatka, kakšna je zdaj kakovost kopalne vode v reki Dravi, tudi v Ljubljanici, če gledamo kriterije za kopalno vodo. Mogoče nekatere občine krijejo in se v dogovoru z nacionalnim laboratorijem tudi same spuščajo v ta nadzor, dobivajo tudi občasno neko oceno, vendar ni pa to sistematično urejeno. Izven, bom rekla, monitoringa kopalne vode, ki že poteka, ki nosilec tega je ARSO, Agencija Republike Slovenije za okolje, izvajalec je Nacionalni laboratorij za zdravje, okolje in hrano, NIJZ pa v bistvu postavi nekako kriterije in priporočila, kdaj je pa neka kopalna voda sploh primerna za kopanje ali ne, in tudi v primeru neskladnosti sodeluje pri priporočilih, recimo o odsvetovanju ali pa celo prepovedi kopanja, recimo lani smo imeli žusterno, skratka so epizode, kadar je to tudi neljubi dogodek, ki se tiče varnosti, če se spomnimo Solkana na Soči in utopitve, ki ni osamljena, to se je dogajalo v preteklih letih, pač nekako svoje strani spodbujamo, da bi se z določenimi ukrepi ta tveganja tudi odpravila.
Gospod Rožac, gospod Koželj je omenil probleme, ali pa vplive, ki jih ima na kakovost vode tudi nekontrolirana urbanizacija. Na Ministrstvu za okolje in prostor vzpostavljate tudi nadzor nad gradnjo, kaj imate v načrtu v prihodnjih letih storiti v zvezi s tem, da bodo posegi v obvodni prostor pod nadzorom in ne bodo poslabševali pogojev.
Hvala za besedo, pozdrav vsem. Zdaj morda sem tako za vzdušje. Jaz živim na današnji dan 41 let v Ljubljani, pa mi ni še nikoli prišlo na misel, da bi se tudi po nesreči kopal v Ljubljanci, tudi v študentskih in dijaških letih. Upam pa, tako kar prav profesor Koželj, da nam bo to uspelo v kratkem. Zdaj na Rakovelši se končuje kanalizacija, gorvodno proti Vrhniki se tudi končuje kanalizacija in to naj bi zdaj te makrobiološke pogoje močno izboljšalo. In verjamem, da nekako po letu dveh bi to skupnimi močmi lahko dosegli, da se plavamo, mislim, da se kopamo. Je pa zanimivo to, da sem zdaj pred dnevi bral, kar se tiče kopanja v Ljubljanici. Leta 1790 je bil župan Ljubljane Petar Fister, tako kot naš nekdanji profesor, in takrat so kopanje v Ljubljanci prepovedovali. In tisti, ki so se kopali, se pravi gospodje, so jih dobili s palco po hrbtu, dame pa s korobačem. Mi se zdaj pa borimo, da bi se vsi kopali, zdaj, kakor sem rekel, pa ministrstvo se trudi tako drugače, da se posega v te stvari vzdržno, pa da se gradi ta kanalizacija, kakor lahko prispevamo po naših močeh, investitor je sicer Mestna občina Ljubljana ali pa druge občine, ki so gorvodno. Mi pač moramo ustvariti pogoje, da se to lažje pa hitreje poseže, kakor je v navadi.
S tem zaključujemo ta kratek pogovor pred otvoritvijo. Mogoče še kakšna zaključna misel?
Mislim, morda sem še toliko, zdaj bom dal še gospodu profesorju mikrofon. Zdaj na ministrstvu gradimo tudi zadrževalnike, in to, ko berem danes Mesto plava, gradimo zato, da mesto dobesedno ne bo plavalo, da bodo plavali samo meščani, kopalci.
Jaz imam zaključno misel, ena izkušnja. Mi smo doživeli dve stvari v zadnjem obdobju, tako res, karanteno smo dobili in izolacijo, se pa usamitev. In tista najhujša, ko se nismo iz občine ven, je pokazala, kako je pač pomembno, da ima vsako mesto tudi svoje morje. Ta potovanja potem v Izolo in Piran in Ankaran in tako naprej so se pokazala kot pravzaprav izhod v sili na koncu, ampak bolj kot izraz neke svobodnosti. Ampak takrat smo odkrili pravzaprav, kako je pomembno, da ima mesto svoje gozdove, da ima mesto svoje polja, svoje travnike, svoje livade in da ima mesto seveda tudi svojo plažo. Nas vedno kregajo, če kaj naredimo mimo, in to ni nič hudega, mimo predpisov. Imamo tudi eno novo plažo na Savi, kot veste. In ta se mi zdi tudi meni zelo ljub projekt. Namreč mi smo jo uspeli narediti na en modelu, ki so nam mogoče tako malo na pol dovolili, da se da, ker je natura, pa pol. Ampak zakaj se mi zdi ta projekt tako ljub? Zato, ker smo jo naredili tam, ker natura res deluje. Recimo, ta plaža je treba pravzaprav vsak letno novo narediti. In zato mi je ta projekt pravzaprav najbolj všeč. In tudi večkrat grem, ker tam tudi res diši po naravni vodi. Bolj kot Ljubljanica, če tudi lepo diši, tam diši drugače, ker ona preteče le z Gorenjske. In zato pejte kdaj na to plažo pogledati in ta plaža je tudi popularna, ampak je v bistvu ves čas, tako, kako bi rekel, malo sumljiva. Prvič je sumljiva zato, ker se tam zbirajo nudisti, ker je ena posebna kasta zelo pomembna, ker v bistvu pa se temu včasih smo rekli, da so oni naturisti, a ni tako smo rekli, da je turistični kamp, ker so malo skrivali tisti. Ampak v bistvu so to res, ti imajo radi pač to narava in to je na eni strani, in na drugi strani so tisti, ki niso naturisti, ampak ki imajo pa radi naravno okolje za doživljanje pravzaprav enega pristnega odnosa do reka. Tako da se mi zdi, da se trudimo, ampak Ves čas je seveda nevaren, plavati v Savi je nevarno, imamo 2 utopitvi, ne? No, ampak kot ste vi rekli, mi imamo tudi v Ljubljani je znana po shared spaceu, to se pravi po skupnem prometnem prostoru, kjer pa nimamo smrtnih žrtev, ampak tudi to je nek tak prostor, kjer so se ljudje skozi leta navadili, da morajo za lastno varnost sami poskrbeti, ne? Ker pač jih ne more, predvsem če jih soočamo recimo z naravo v tem primeru, ne, je pa res težko imeti nad njimi nadzor. In potem se običajno tako zgodi, da je zaprt, ne, da je gešpert, ne, to mora biti, pol se zapre in potem se to zaustavi, ampak v bistvu tega gibanja je te gibanje težko ustaviti. Tako da je zanimivo, no, reka je nek tak, ne vem, no, učni prostor, ne, vsega, odnosa do narave, odnosa med ljudmi in tako naprej, no.
Predvidevam, da glede na to, da gospod začel, da mu damo priložnost, da tudi zaključi. Kar se Maribora tiče, Maribor ima itak en kup enih potencialov, trenutno malo slabše izkoriščeni, ampak so v fazi oživljanja. Če imamo to reko, ki pri nas ne je bil problem srečevanje kopalcev in javnega potniškega prometa, ker je dovolj široka za vse, mislim, da moramo vse narediti za to, da nas ta reka dejansko združuje, da se ljudje srečujemo ob tej reki. In če bomo tudi zaradi tega imperativa kopanja, plavanja poskrbeli za to, da bo še bolj čista, kot je že, je to še dodaten motiv, razlog več. Sam pa včasih sanjam o tem, kar je verjetno marsikdo od vas doživel v Münchnu, enem najbogatejših mest, kjer se ravno na in v reki Izar srečajo ljudje vseh generacij, ljudje vseh poklicev ali bogati, revni, kamor pridejo z bicikli. Kar me je fasciniralo je, da so vsi, ampak res vsi, za seboj vse, kar so prinesli, tudi pospravili. In se mi je zdelo eno tako okolje, ki kljub tisti vsakodnevni hitrosti in vsem planom in tabelicam, ki jih imamo, ti lahko v tvojem okolju dajo tisto sprostitev in neko dodatno kreativno misel, širino, in za to se, mislim, je treba boriti.
Yeah, I would like to second this idea that you just. Does this work? Yeah. Okay. Actually, it's not about swimming. This whole thing. It's about public space. It's about the sensation that we can appropriate something that is apparently anonymous, that belongs to everybody and nobody, but to take responsibility for it, as you were describing it. And I think actually swimming in rivers is the most sensual form to reclaim the right to the city today. You probably have heard of this term, the right to the city. It was a movement since 10, 15 years, which was fighting increasing privatization of public space, which was saying actually the city is there for all its inhabitants. And even if we have a private real estate economy that tries to commercialize land, there needs to be a portion of the land that is not privatized. It is very important, because otherwise we will no longer feel home in our cities. And in this respect, it is very interesting for cities to make their rivers swimmable, because it's a fantastic tool to create public space in a situation where many cities have very limited land resources. Actually, the Swiss cities are like that, but probably here it's the same. In Switzerland, for instance, cities can no longer grow territorially. They have their limits, and they have to stay within these limits. I think this is very good. It's a result of the Raumplanung, of the spatial planning conferences, which said we need to protect the landscape, we have to fight suburbanization, we have to create dense cities. Now, what has also become clear, people accept densified cities, higher densities, only if there's not only more building, but also more public space. Now, how do you do this if the stock of land is growing smaller and smaller? Now, this is the moment where river swimming becomes really an almost magical tool, because it creates land what makes land available, that so far was infrastructural space. We didn't even count it as part of the usable space in the city. We discarded it as something that is lost. It's lost to sewage, to ship transport, and these kind of things. So the embankments very often were kind of dead space, forgotten space, underutilized space. And once you make the river swimmable, it's clear you have to kind of prepare the embankment zone for people to be able to use it. So in many rivers, it means that the height difference from the city level to the water level needs to be made navigable. I mean, you need to navigate this. You need to walk down. So you need to make steps and those kind of things. There's a kind of an invisible architecture that needs to be invested in order to make these spaces habitable. And the river space in Basel, for instance, the city where I live, is by far physically the largest public space of the city. And it's also interesting because once you dedicate this space for river swimming, it can no longer be exploited for real estate development. It's impossible. Nobody could claim that. So it's a very good way to create public space that can no longer be, that can never be turned again into private space. And also, I would second what the mayor of Maribor said. It's a type of public space that is absolutely inclusive. Because when you have a bathing suit on, it doesn't matter whether you are rich or poor, which language you speak, if you're young or old, actually everybody comes together. It's a very, very beautiful way. So actually, when I go to the river in Basel, it's when I meet most of the population. It's when I realize how many languages are spoken in my city. It's when I actually get to talk to people that I otherwise wouldn't get to talk, because it would feel strange maybe to talk to them just somewhere. But there it's actually very clear that you talk to each other, because the act of swimming in a river is not a solitary act. Actually, one of the rules of the Swiss Life Saving Society is never swim alone, for two reasons. One is somebody else can help you when you get in trouble, and you can help somebody else when they get in trouble. And it happens sometimes, and people just really quickly help each other and pull someone to the shore. But also the most beautiful side of this is actually when, since people are trained not to go alone, they meet their friends on the shore, and then you swim like 3, 4, 5 people together. And in Basel, the 3 kilometers, that takes 25 minutes to drift down. This is actually important. You don't swim, you drift. It's like the situation is la dérive. It's you let yourself flow, because the river does all the work for you. You only need to work when you get ashore. But on the river propels you. And that means basically you have time. You have 25 minutes of time where you don't have to do anything. So naturally, you get to talk to people. And actually, I get to talk to people that I don't even know. So I ask them, hey, where are you from? And they say, oh, from Mulhouse, from France. We can't do this. We love this. Ah, that's interesting. What are you doing afterwards? And then you end up having dinner with them. So it's really incredible. And I'm almost certain that probably half the couples in Basel met on the river, because it's unavoidable. You get to see people and you want to spend your time with them.
Andreas, tvojo razlago o plavanju v reki razumem tudi kot, da imaš še 2 zelo pomembni sporočili. Eno je tudi ta ekološka nota, ker obenem ob tem, da zahtevamo mesto zase nazaj, zahtevamo tudi čisto mesto, in ultimativna stvar, ki jo lahko v tem javnem prostoru, je, da skočimo v čisto vodo, in je to neka dodatna ponudba, neka dodatna kakovost, ki jo mesto v tem trenutku lahko ponudi. In drugo je, da se s tem tudi na nek drugačen način dogaja ena socializacija v mestu, da se pravzaprav morajo vzpostaviti neki bontoni, neki protokoli vedenja, kako dostopaš v reko, kako se vedeš do drugih kopalcev. Mislim, da je to nekaj, kar je zelo pomembno, ko se pogovarjamo o tem, ko želimo usposobiti reke za plavanje. Gospod državni sekretar je želel še nekaj dodati.
Jaz sem sam tako proti koncu želel reči, da leta 26 je bilo na Livadi organizirano nacionalno oziroma državno prvenstvo v plavanju in upam, da bo ob stoletnici spet državno prvenstvo, da se bomo lahko kopali takrat tam vsi. Gospod podžupan prav, da zagotovo.
Potem naj bo to zaključek tega pogovora. Jaz se zahvaljujem vsem sogovornikom, da ste prišli danes na otvoritev, da ste sodelovali v tem pogovoru. Zdaj si boste lahko ogledali vodstvo po razstavi, Andreasovo vodstvo po razstavi na tem ekranu. Obenem pa lahko počakate v vrsti in si razstavo ogledate, vendar žal v prostore razstavišča ne moremo spustiti več kot 10 oseb naenkrat. Da smo razstavo sploh lahko prinesli v Ljubljano, se moram posebej zahvaliti švicarskemu veleposlaništvu in celotni ekipi švicarskega veleposlaništva. Razstavo je podprl Prezenc Švajc in obenem se moram za postavitev razstave zahvaliti svoji izjemni ekipi, ki je to izvedla v izjemno kratkem času. Seveda pa hvala tudi vam za tako lep obisk danes zvečer. Upam, da ste uživali v pogovoru in da boste uživali v večeru še naprej. Hvala lepa. Uradno odprtje razstave pa sledi čez 5 minut.
Yeah, they do call me. I didn't know who's calling. Yeah. Everything okay?
Gospod veleposlanik Denis Knobel je že z nami. Gospod veleposlanik, pozdravljeni. Welcome, Mr. Ambassador Denis Knobel. We are in Mao in the museum. We just had a short talk and now we would like you to open the exhibition. The word is yours, Mr. Ambassador.
Dragi gosti, can you hear me? Do you hear me? Yes. Dear colleagues and friends, excellencies, Mr. Saša Arsenovič, Mayor of Maribor, thank you so much for coming to Ljubljana. Deputy Mayor of Ljubljana, Mr. Koželj. Dear State Secretary Robert Rožac, also from the Ministry of Environment and Spatial Planning, who is actually replacing or representing the minister who had to change, to excuse at the last minute. Dear Andreas Ruby, curator and director of the Swiss Architectural Museum. Dear Matevž Čelik, director of MAU, and host tonight. And so I would like to start to thank Matevž for receiving us and also for the excellent cooperation we had. It was really very, very professional. And actually, it's not the first time that we have a Swiss exhibition here in the castle of Fugine. And thanks to you, Matevž, we can already speak of some kind of a tradition. So once again, thanks to all of you for coming here and to attend this opening of this Swim City exhibition. You have to excuse me. I'm really sorry that I could not attend, and you have to excuse my social distancing. But I just arrived from Switzerland, a country on the yellow COVID list. The representative of the Public Health Institute knows what it means. So since I cannot exclude actually that I had a contact with somebody infected by COVID, so I thought it was better to stay at home for your protection and that I will not socialize too much tonight, but it's better not to have any risk of contagion in these difficult times. Ladies and gentlemen, so I'm a Bernese. I think you saw the photo on the screen, the map of the capital of Switzerland. And on this map, you see the river Aare, which is actually crossing the whole town from the south to the north, and which has this protection function, I mean, surrounding the old city, the medieval city. So actually the river had always an absolutely key function for Bern. And actually this is the place where I come from. And actually it's a city which has quite a lot of similarities with Ljubljana, same size, also rivers and so on. It's not Basel, Mr. Ruby, I know, but you have the Rhine there, as you said, and so it's Bern. And as most Bernese, I grew up swimming in the river, of course. We call it the Aare Schwumm, Aare Schwimmen. So this is actually the absolute highlight of the summer season in Bern. And as a kid, I can remember, you know, this green river, the cold water, sometimes freezing water, the whirls, you know, pulling down a little bit, you know, the anxiety of getting pulled down in the water. I also remember the trees and the bridges, you know, passing by. So what I especially remember actually is the smelling of the Aare, you know, this unique taste of the river and perfume. And, you know, at the beginning when we were small kids, so we did a very short swim, so some 20 or 50 meters. And so we just went out, and then more and more we grew up. We started to have longer swims, and we were getting higher into the river. You know, at the end, you know, we went into the wilderness, you know, outside of the city, and then slowly entering the city. So this was an amazing experience, and I must say, swimming in the Aare is part of Bern. It's a real institution for Bernese, and it's really a social life, as Mr. Ruby said. I mean, everybody walks up half naked, you know, on the river shore, and you will see ministers, you will see parliamentarians, and so this is actually extremely important moment in social life of my city, where everybody is in bathing suits, bikini, and everybody just enjoys without any social distinction. But swimming in the Aare is also a tourist attraction now, and it's part of the unforgettable experiences for the tourists. So it has an economic dimension, which is not to be underestimated. What I also remember is the water. I mean, in the 70s, the water was not as clean as today. The quality of the water has improved. So this is a clear indicator for environmental process and progress. This needs investments in water cleaning capabilities, infrastructure upstream. So this is what I remember from my childhood in this beautiful city of Bern and swimming in the Aare. Now, as I said, I'm just coming back from Switzerland, and of course, also this year, it's part of my holidays, you know, to go once or twice into the Aare. And this year, I discovered this Aare carte here. You see, this is something I brought back just now, and it's a newspaper showing the infrastructure. I think Milena has the Arekarte, a couple of editions here in the museum. It's showing you that you can start in Thun, which is another city, 20 kilometers from Bern, and you can end up after Bern. So you make about 20 to 30 kilometers. You can go on a boat, you can swim, and so on. So this is the situation in Bern. We have similar experiences in Basel, in Geneva, but also in Zurich and other Swiss cities. I didn't know actually that this is a Swiss specialty. So thanks to Mr. Ruby, I see Swim City is not a joke. So in Switzerland, it's a very serious thing. And just to conclude, it's also some kind of an indicator for the rankings of capitals, so worldwide. So we had a CNN report about the 20 best swimming places in the world. And of course, the Aare was one of the best rivers. In 2018, still in the US, a journalist of the Washington Post, said that the Swiss capital could be some kind also of an example for Washington. Imagine. So it's not only about citizens and urban planning, but what he was mentioning, it's also about politics. The problems, we see every night now with these tensions and fightings in US politics, So he writes that the problem is that they don't, the politicians, American politicians, they don't need in bathing suits and bikini. So that would be much easier for understanding each other and getting also closer. So this is just one example. This journalist in the Washington Post mentioning also the political dimension, of swim cities. So this is also why in our invitation we sent to you, we put a bit a strange dress code, and we would like to invite also Slovenia, to join. I mean, if we can, Maribor has a beautiful river, and also the Ljubljanica and others, the other rivers crossing Slovenia. I know that you are already doing it, but the city, the city swim, this is something very special to be discovered. So I would like to end by thanking you all again of being here. I also would like to thank my team, especially Milena Lebar and Veronika Novak, who also joined the organization of this project. Please excuse my absence, and I will come to visit this exhibition as soon as possible, and the Public Health Institute is allowing me. So enjoy it, have a nice evening, and please just see this pictures, these movies, and let you drive through the water. Thank you very much, hvala lepa, and have a nice evening. Thank you.